Hey guys, welcome to Rooster's Recording Studio. Today I'm going to break down the basics of music theory. So, in music we use the first 7 letters of the alphabet to name notes. A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. These 5 lines right here are called a staff. The lines don't do anything and they don't tell us anything by themselves. We need to add a symbol at the beginning of the lines called a clef. A clef indicates or establishes the letter names of each line and each space. This symbol is called a treble clef or a G clef. It's just an ornate G, and if you see how the line comes around where it terminates or ends at the second line from the bottom, this indicates that this line is a G. So this note is G, the next space is A, the next line is B, the next space is C, and so on. And once you get to F, it just repeats itself. So G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, and so on. If we need to go above or below the lines to add notes, we add what's called a ledger line. So you would just add a ledger line and add your note. The next symbol is called a bass clef, or the F clef. The dot above and below the second line from the top indicates that this line is an F. So this note is an F, the next space is a G, the next line is an A, the next space is a B, and so on. So this is a smaller example, but when you put the treble clef over the bass clef, this is called the grand staff. If you're a guitar player, you're going to be reading music written on the treble clef. If you're a bass player, you'll read music written on the bass clef. And if you're a piano player, you'll read music on the grand staff. Next, we've got what's called the tie. The tie is simply a curved line that connects 2 adjacent notes of the same pitch into a single sound. The duration is the sum of both note values. So, 2 quarter notes with a tie is going to be played like a half note. After that, we've got the dot. The dot is placed to the right of a note, and it extends the value of a note by half of its value. So half of a half note is a quarter note. So this dotted half note would be played like a half note tied to a quarter note. You can also have a double dotted note, which adds half the value of the first dot. So half of a half note is a quarter note, and half of a quarter note is an eighth note. So this double dotted half note is going to be played like a half note tied to a quarter note, which is tied to an eighth note. Now let's look at the divisions of a quarter note. If we were going to divide a quarter note into 2 parts, it would take 2 eighth notes to make a quarter note. If we were going to divide this quarter note into 3 parts, it would take 3 eighth notes played as a triplet to make a quarter note. If we were going to divide this quarter note into 4 parts, it would take 4 16th notes to equal 1 quarter note. So, if we were in 4/4 time, the way you would count this would be a quarter note is 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. If you were going to count the 2 eighth notes in 4/4 time, it would be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. The triplet is counted as 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the 16th notes in 4/4 time are counted as 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and. So now we'll look at time signatures. The time signature is going to be placed at the beginning of the music next to the clef. And what it does is it indicates a specific note value, such as a quarter note, half note, etc. And it tells you how many of those note values are in one measure. And the easiest way to do this is to cover up the top number and replace it with a 1. Then think of it as a fraction. So that would be 1/4. So there are 2 quarter notes in one measure in 2/4 time. In 6/8 time, if we cover it up and put a 1, that's 1/8. So there are 6 eighth notes in one measure in 6/8 time. In 3/4 time, there are 3 quarter notes. 9/8 time would be 9 eighth notes. 4/4 time, 4 quarter notes. And again, just cover up that, put a 1, and that's an eighth note. 12 eighth notes in one measure in 12/8 time. Next, we've got the scale. A scale is simply a collection of notes in ascending or descending order. And the first note in a scale is known as the tonic. And the last note in a scale is known as the octave. And it's just a duplicate letter of the tonic. These numbers at the top refer to scale degree. So, in the key of G major, G is the 1, A is the 2, B is the 3, and so on up to the 8, which is your octave. Scales are made up by a series of whole steps and half steps. And if you add a sharp to any note, it raises that note by half a step. If you add a flat to any note, it lowers that note by half a step. So from C to C sharp is a half step, and from C to D is a whole step. If you see this example, you'll notice that there's whole steps between all the notes except between E and F and between B and C. So if you look at a piano, there are no black keys in between B and C and E and F. So the intervals to make a major scale are whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. So between scale degree 1 and 2 is a whole step. Between scale degree 2 and 3 is a whole step. Between 3 and 4 is a half step. Between 4 and 5 is a whole step. 5 and 6, whole step. 6 and 7, whole step. And between 7 and 8 is a half step. The intervals to make a natural minor scale are whole, half, whole, whole, half, whole, whole. To make the harmonic minor scale, you raise the 7th scale degree of the natural minor scale by half a step. This makes the intervals become whole, half, whole, whole, half, step and a half, half. To make the melodic minor scale, the intervals are different on the way up than they are on the way down. So on the way up, you raise the 6th and 7th scale degree of the natural minor scale, and on the way down, you play the natural minor scale. So that makes all the intervals whole, half, whole, 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 half, whole, whole, half, whole, whole, half, whole. Well, that's all I've got for today, guys. Thanks for watching. Next time, we'll be looking at the circle of fifths and key signatures. So if you haven't already, go ahead, click subscribe, and stay up to date with our latest videos. Well, thanks again, and have a wonderful day.